Hey there, and welcome. So, have you ever looked at a massive data center and wondered, how do you actually build a private cloud from the ground up with something like VMware? Well, if you have, you are in exactly the right place. We are going to break down the whole process, step by step, from the initial blueprint all the way to a fully running system. Let's jump right in.
So, where do you even start? I mean, building a private cloud sounds like this massive, intimidating project, right? But really, it all breaks down into a pretty logical sequence. And if you get it right, you get this amazing, granular control over your performance, your security, and of course, your costs. It all begins with a solid plan.
You know, the best way to wrap your head around this whole thing is to think of yourself as a digital architect. You're not just plugging in servers and cables. You are literally constructing a skyscraper made of computing power. And just like a real skyscraper, every single decision you make, from the foundation to the wiring, is absolutely critical. We're going to use this analogy to guide us through the whole thing.
And just like any good architect, we start with the blueprint. This first part is all about planning. Seriously, the prep work you do right here, right now, is what's going to determine whether your cloud stands tall and strong or just crumbles under pressure.
Okay, page 1 of our blueprint, the Hardware Compatibility List, or HCL. Look, this is VMware's official guide, and let me be clear, it is non-negotiable. If a server or a network card or a storage controller isn't on this list, it means the driver hasn't been tested and certified, and that can lead to all sorts of nightmares, unpredictable crashes, silent data corruption, or the infamous purple screen of death. Checking the HCL isn't a suggestion, it's the absolute first rule of building a stable cloud.
Next up, we've got to plan our traffic flow using what are called VLANs. The easiest way to think about these is like dedicated express lanes on a superhighway. We need separate, totally isolated lanes for our most critical traffic, one for management, another for live migrations with vMotion, and one for storage traffic with vSAN. If you mix all that traffic together, you create a massive traffic jam that can grind your entire cloud to a halt. This separation is just fundamental for both security and performance.
And finally, let's talk about two services that are kind of the unsung heroes of the data center, DNS and NTP. They seem so basic, right? But trust me, if they are not running perfectly, your entire project will fail. It's that simple. If vCenter can't resolve a server's name using DNS, the installation will just stop cold. And if your server clocks drift out of sync because of bad NTP, authentication breaks and your logs become a completely useless, jumbled mess. You have to get these foundational services right from the very beginning.
All right, our blueprint is complete. Now it's time to pour the concrete and actually lay the digital foundation. This section is all about installing the core software that's going to support our entire skyscraper, the ESXi hypervisor on the servers and the vCenter management platform.
So right off the bat, when you're installing the ESXi hypervisor, you have a pretty big choice to make. A local install is what it sounds like. You put the operating system right on each server's local disk or SD card. It's simple, it's persistent, and it's great for smaller setups. The other way is a stateless approach with auto-deploy. Here, the servers actually boot over the network and get their configuration from a central profile. This is incredibly scalable and guarantees every single server is a perfect, identical clone, which is absolutely ideal for large-scale clouds.
Now it's time to build our control tower, vCenter. Deploying the vCenter Server Appliance, or VCSA, is a pretty straightforward 4-step process. You deploy the appliance file, you configure its network and storage settings, you initialize the security domain, and then you start adding your ESXi hosts into it. This thing becomes the brain of the whole operation, giving you that single pane of glass to manage your entire infrastructure.
Okay, the foundation is in place. Now it's time to build the framework of our skyscraper. We got to install the elevators, the plumbing, the electricity, all the stuff that connects everything together. This section is all about configuring our networking and storage to turn a bunch of isolated servers into a single, powerful, and resilient pool of resources.
And this is where the real magic of creating a cluster comes in. High availability, or HA, is basically your automated safety net. If a physical server just dies, its virtual machines automatically restart on the other healthy hosts. Then you have DRS, the Distributed Resource Scheduler. Think of it as an intelligent load balancer that's constantly moving VMs around to prevent performance bottlenecks. And finally, EVC acts like a referee, making sure you can live migrate VMs between servers that have different generations of CPUs, which is a lifesaver for seamless upgrades.
Now for networking, you've really got two main options. The vSphere standard switch is configured on each host, one by one. It's simple, but it gets really tedious at scale.
The vSphere Distributed Switch, or VDS, is really the modern choice. It's a single, centralized switch that spans across all your hosts, which massively simplifies management and unlocks advanced stuff like the network virtualization platform NSX.
Hey, remember those dedicated VLANs from our blueprint? Well, this is how we connect to them, using special network interfaces called VM kernel ports. Each host needs its own dedicated port for each type of infrastructure traffic, one for management, one for vMotion, one for vSAN, and so on. This is what ensures that a massive live migration doesn't suck up all the bandwidth and starve out your critical storage traffic.
So our skyscraper is built. It's all wired up. Now, people actually have to move in. This section is where we shift our focus to the day-to-day work of an administrator, managing the virtual machines or the tenants that are going to live inside your new private cloud.
You know, every single virtual machine follows a pretty predictable life cycle. It's usually born from a master template, which is like a perfect golden image. Then it's deployed as a clone and customized with its own unique name and IP address. Right before you make a major change, you might take a quick snapshot. And from that point on, it just enters this long-term cycle of maintenance, patching, and monitoring.
Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand the difference between these two things because people mix them up all the time. A template is a powered-off master copy used to stamp out brand new VMs. Think of it as the master blueprint for a VM. A snapshot, on the other hand, is a point-in-time freeze of a running VM state, and it's designed only for very short-term rollbacks right before you make a change.
And that leads us to probably one of the most important rules in the entire VMware world. The quote on the screen says it all. If you leave snapshots active for days or even weeks, you will severely degrade that VM's performance, and you can even corrupt your backups. They are an amazing tool for temporary changes, but they are absolutely positively not a backup strategy.
You know, a real skyscraper is never truly finished, is it? It needs constant maintenance, security updates, renovations. Well, the exact same thing is true for your digital skyscraper. So our final section here is all about the ongoing life cycle of your infrastructure.
A private cloud is a living, breathing system. It is not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of project. You are constantly managing its life cycle. You're applying security patches, you're upgrading components to get cool new features, and you're making sure that the entire software-defined stack is working together in perfect harmony.
And when it comes to doing major upgrades, the sequence of events is absolutely critical. You always upgrade the management brain, vCenter, first, no exceptions. Then you upgrade your ESXi hosts, then any integrated platforms like NSX, and finally the on-disk format for storage systems like vSAN. The dependencies between these components are so tight that doing this out of order isn't just a bad idea, it's a recipe for a full cluster outage.
So, there you have it. You've followed the blueprint, you've laid the foundation, you wire the whole framework, and you're managing your tenants. Your digital skyscraper is officially built. But the real question is, what's next? Is your design resilient enough to handle the next big security threat, the next hardware failure, or the next wave of business demand? Because building it, well, that's just the beginning.